Sunday. Welcome back to Hannity and Colmes. I'm Alan Colmes, and Al Gore is fast, some say, the poster boy for the fight against global warming, with many accusing him of not practicing what he preaches. Now, today there are reports that the President Bush's Crawford Ranch is more eco-friendly than Al Gore's mansion. Is that really true? And many now are questioning Mr. Gore's motives for becoming an environmentalist. Is he just playing politics? Joining us now, the author of the Politically Incorrect Guide to Global Warming and Environmentalism, Chris Horner, and Democratic strategist Bob Beckel. Good to have you both with us. Chris, I keep pointing out this group that is Tennessee Center for Policy Research calls itself nonpartisan. That turns out not to be true. And they fail to point out that Gore does purchase all kinds of green power, putting solar panels in his house. You know, we are not getting the whole story from this group, and that Al Gore is environmentally friendly. This is just a smear piece on Al Gore because he is speaking out against something you don't believe in.
Well, no, okay, so this group may not be as nonpartisan as Al Gore somehow. I'm not sure how that changes his enormous carbon footprint on the planet. And remember, buying indulgences from the High Church of Global Warming is not the same as going carbon-free, which he could do. I'm not sure which of his mansions you're talking about, Alan. I assume it's the one in Nashville, but he's also got a very large home in Arlington, which, as I understand, is not available to purchase green power. So, in fact, while each of these homes is larger than his movement would say are required by his needs, he has several homes. That's not environmentally responsible. He buys indulgences. That's for the wealthy elites under the world that they would like to create.
Well, he matches his carbon. The carbon he uses, he makes up for. You don't want to point that out.
But it's not the same thing. Carbon neutral is not the same as carbon-free, Alan.
I didn't realize, Bob Beckel, that conservatives were so upset to people being wealthy, having more than one home, doing well. And they totally ignore what else.
His standards, and you're so appalled by that.
You know, they totally want to ignore the full story.
To get religion like this, Alan, this late in their lives, I think is a wonderful thing. Now, let me just say this about these two houses. George Bush's house was just built. Every new house in America is more energy efficient than older houses. Al Gore has a much older house. Therefore, it's not energy efficient. But I'll tell you what, if George Bush has done this, then I'm nominating him for president of the Audubon Society, a job he might actually be able to do.
That's very good. Now, Chris, by the way, you're a senior fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. You've replied in the past on ExxonMobil money, big energy money. They support and fund what you do. They have a vested interest in you putting out the opinion you have, contrary to what the UN put out. So you're being funded and getting money at your institute from the people who want you to say the things you're saying, right?
Well, I guess you are pretty hung up on these smear campaigns, Alan. The public record is fairly clear. The groups that you're alluding to stopped supporting us a couple of years ago. Our position remains the same now. You're like a 5-year-old, Alan. Let me finish, okay?
Thank you very much.
Let me finish. We have the same position now, 2 years after they stopped supporting us, that we had while they supported us, as we had before they supported us. So you and Bob can do your ad hominem things and allude that maybe George Bush's house is just like everybody else's. In fact, it's not. He spent an awful lot of money to be eco-friendly and avoid the emissions that Al Gore's buying indulgences.
Hang on, Bob. George Bush didn't know what eco-friendly meant before he became president.
Go ahead, all you want, Bob. We're trying to talk substance. I know it's
by the way, Chris, Bob, how do you join the Flat Earth Society? I'm curious.
You know what? Here's the thing. That stooge of the globe-making industry, Pythagoras, was the skeptic, and the Flat Earth Society were the consensus, who, as you know, with most scientific consensuses, proved to be wrong.
Chris Horner,
let me get in here. Didn't Al Gore's father make a fortune as a right-hand man, Arm & Hammer? Wasn't he placed on Occidental Petroleum's board of directors? Isn't that where a lot of the family fortune came from?
That's where a lot of the family fortune came from, and we know Arm & Hammer's relationship with some gentlemen who used to go by the codename USSR, and that's all been outed quite well. But remember the zinc mine, remember the other wealth sources for the Gores. It all goes down to a different attitude. If you're raised in the St. Regis Hotel, if you're raised in St. Albans and Harvard, you believe different things than the people. This is about what other people have to do, not you. So if you can have several large homes, if you buy indulgences, that's one thing. Under the world they're trying to create, we can't admit the things he's buying indulgences for.
Mr. Beckel, look, as we were watching Melissa Etheridge sing the song of the Oscars, it had up signs there. Are you ready to change the world? The climate crisis can be solved. Weatherize your house. Walk, ride a bike, use light rail. Bob, let's just be intellectually honest. He has multiple homes. The home in Nashville uses 20 times the amount of electricity than the average American family. He travels around the world. I know he thinks he has an important message, but he travels around on private jets to get to a lot of his destinations. And he's, you know, the idea, well, I can buy a carbon offset. Why don't we just say he's a Class A hypocrite? Do you have the moral courage to identify him for the hypocrite he is?
You know, I love that opening line here. You have the moral courage. First of all, let me just say it's delightful for you to finally beat up on big business, which is nice.
I'm not beating up on business. I'm beating up on hypocrisy.
Al Gore did not know what his father was doing when he was born. You know, I mean, he just.
I'm beating up on hypocrisy. He's going to lecture us and tell us to walk and watch our carbon emissions. Give up the private jet.
The hypocrisy is George Bush never taking one step.
You want to turn us into George Bush?
The United States.
That's so weak, Bob. You're better than this. Al Gore, should he take a pledge that he'll never fly in a private jet because he wants to be a good example? Yes or no?
Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. He can do more travel around this world talking about global warming.
He invented the internet. He could do his speeches on the internet, Bob. He invented it.
Listen, why not let George Bush get rid of his 747? I'll tell you what, they could swim or they can
George Bush isn't lecturing the rest of us to walk and ride a bike and give up our cars and lecturing us on how we need to reduce our carbon emissions. But Al Gore is.
Good idea.
World War II style commitment, Bob. How does this listen on your bike?
What kind of world you guys want to leave? You want to leave your flat Earth, Christian flat Earth policy here?
All right, guys.
You guys are up against, as far as last I checked, there were 1,500 scientists in the world who came out and said there was global warming, and you have somebody from Delaware.
All right, guys. By the way,
these guys from Tennessee.
Bob, show me your list. There is such a list.
My president told me it was the internets, though. I thought it was plural. But anyway, thank you very much for being with us. Coming up, the man responsible for this outrage.